Hello, good evening to you all. Hello, good evening, everyone. Please, if you can hear me loud and clear, just type yes so that we can start as soon as possible. Okay, that's all right. Okay, I can see you can hear me clearly. All right, thank you. Okay, thank you. Let's wait for the others for some minutes more, maybe like 1 or 2 minutes more. You can inform your colleagues that we are already online. All right, I can see you. I can see all of you. Thank you very much. The class will start shortly. Let's see how many people will already have online. We'll start shortly. Others will join us later. All right, thank you. I can see all of you. We are still online. In another 10 seconds, we are going to start right away. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Once again, good evening to you all. How has your day been? Happy New Week to every one of you. And for those of you that are writing the exam tomorrow, I wish you good success. Okay, some classes will be writing GNS 102 tomorrow, while others will be writing theirs on Tuesday. So everyone is joining the class today. For those that are writing it tomorrow and those that are writing it the next day, we are all here, and I'm going to tell you the structure of the exam, how it's going to be like. Now I want you to listen carefully. It is GNS 102 examination. Now that's communication in English 1. Now the first communication course in your ND1. You have done the first English course in the first semester. That is use of English. And the second semester is communication in English 1. So when you get to ND2, you are going to be taking GNS 201 for the first semester, and that is use of English 2. And second semester GNS 202, which is communication in English 2, which means both use of English and communication in English have 1 and 2. And when you get to HND, we are going to be having 3 and 4 for communication in English. Then we are going to be having 3, that is use of English 3, that is in HND 1. So, but for GNS 102, that is communication in English 1, the exam structure has 3 different sections. 3 different sections. Listen carefully. Now, once you know the structure of an exam, you are halfway to making a success in such a course. So the structure for this exam, JNS 102, has three different sections: Section A, Section B, and Section C. That is Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3. Now, the first section would have 40 objective questions. 40 objective questions. Now, the 40 objective questions, they are not going to be multiple choice questions, but they are going to be fill in the gaps. So that means you're going to have 40 different gaps to fill. You're going to have 40 different gaps to fill. Each gap will give you 1 mark. Each gap will give you 1 mark, which means you are going to have 40 marks for section A alone. That means you have to be very much careful with section A, because that is where you score the highest of the mark. Now, other sections have 10 marks. That is, each of other sections, each of them will have 10 marks, making 20 marks. That is your 60 marks examination marks. So for section A, like I said, you are going to have 40 gaps to fill, which will give you 40 marks. And that is where we're going to start from. Remember, the major topics for the course, if you still remember, the first topic we discussed was nature of communication, where we have discussed meaning of communication, process of communication, elements of communication, purpose of communication, then relationship between communication and language. Now, if you remember, we also discussed interference in communication, that is, impact of interference in communication, on communication rather, where we discuss meaning of interference, types of interference, levels of interference, and probably code switching and code mixing. I'm just reminding you some of the topics we have discussed. Now, that is for topic number 1. Topic number 2, that is oral presentation. Now, in that topic, we have discussed organs of speech. Organs of speech. Remember, I gave you the diagram of organs of speech, where I told you the organs of speech are also called articulators, where we have 2 different types of articulators: the active articulators and the passive articulators. Now, for that, the active articulators are those articulators that always move to meet the passive articulator, and they are majorly found at the lower part of the mouth. But the passive ones, they always remain static. They don't move during sound production. We call them passive articulator, and they are mostly found at the roof of the mouth. Any articulator found at the roof of the mouth is a passive articulator. If you remember some of them, the lower lip, sorry, the upper lip for passive articulators, we have the upper lip, we have the upper teeth, the front teeth, then we have the alveolar ridge, we have the hard palate, we have also the soft palate, which means for passive articulators, we have 5 major organs of speech, that is 5 major articulators as passive articulator. I mentioned them now: the upper lip, the upper front teeth, the alveolar ridge, the hard palate, and the soft palate. Those are the passive articulator found at the roof of the mouth. Then we have the active ones at the lower part of the mouth: the lower lip, the lower front teeth, then the tongue. The active articulators are just 3 in the mouth region. So from the outside of the mouth, we have the lower lip, the lower teeth, and the tongue. Now, the tongue does most of the work during sound production as active articulator. It goes up to touch some part of the roof of the mouth to produce some sound. Now, that is the reason why it is the most active articulator in the mouth. And it is divided into three. We have the tip of the tongue, or the blade of the tongue, that is the frontmost part of the tongue, that is the tip of the tongue. Then some people call it blade of the tongue. Then we also have the front of the tongue, the front part of the tongue, and we have the back of the tongue, which means there is no sound in the English language that we use the center of the tongue to produce. Now we only use the tip of the tongue, the front of the tongue, and the back of the tongue. You should note the difference between the tip of the tongue and the front of the tongue. The tip is the frontmost part, the one you can easily touch, the one that will come out when you tuck your tongue out of the mouth. So that is the tip of your tongue. Then the front part of the tongue is any other part after the tip of the tongue. Now, before the central part of the tongue. Now, that is the second part of the tongue that is used to produce sound. Then the last one is the back of the tongue, which is used to produce some consonant sounds, which are produced when the back of the tongue is pressed against the velum, which is the soft palate. Okay, so those are the organs of speech that we call articulators, found in the mouth region. But there are some other articulators, some other organs of speech that are found below the mouth region, that is from your throat down to your chest. For example, we have the Adam's apple. Within the Adam's apple, we have the glottis. Glottis is the space created by the vocal cords in the Adam's apple. So we also use glottis to determine the production of some sounds, and we have discussed several aspects of that in class. Then you have your lungs. Your lungs, we also could call them the air sac. That is where the air you use for breathing is stored. So, but that is the primary function of the lungs. But the secondary function is to produce sound, to supply the amount of air that is needed to produce sound. That is the secondary function of the lungs. So your lungs performs greater tasks during sound production. They release the air that is needed to produce sound. And when we talk of sound in the English language, we are referring to speech sounds, and they are 44. That is, there are 44 speech sounds in the English language. 44 speech sounds in the English language. 24 of them are consonant sounds and 20 are vowel sounds. Now, you may be asked to state the difference between consonant sounds and vowel sound. The difference comes right away from their definition. Consonant sounds are sounds that are produced with obstruction to the passage of air in the mouth region during sound production. Obstruction to the passage of air. So whenever you are producing a consonant sound, there must be obstruction to the passage of air. You don't just open your mouth and consonant will come out. So when air is released from the lungs and it gets to the mouth region, now there will be obstruction caused to the passage of air. What will cause the obstruction? The obstruction will be caused by the two articulators that are going to meet before you produce a consonant sound, which means for any consonant sound to be produced, two articulators must meet. It is very compulsory that two articulators meet before you produce a consonant sound. One passive articulator and one active articulator. For example, in the production of the sound ba. So you will notice that the lower lip goes to touch the upper lip for you to be able to produce ba, that the one you have in book. So when you say ba, two lips are touching each other. That is why we call that sound a bi active articulator. So those are the two articulators that we meet, one active, one passive. Now, for other consonant sound, for example, when you say the one you have in dog, two articulators will meet, the tip of the tongue and contact between two Are we back? Okay. Okay, the sound is not stable yet. We have noticed that. So, but we have restored it. If you can now hear me again, please type yes. It's not the network. Okay, it's the audio here. You can hear me now. It will not break anymore now. The sound is stable now. All right. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let's continue. Sorry for that break in transmission. We have worked on the audio and it's back now. So I was saying that for you to differentiate between consonant sound and vowel sound, it begins from their definition. Consonant sounds are sounds that are produced with obstruction to the passage of air in the mouth. Now, and for vowel sound, we describe them as sounds that are produced without any obstruction to the passage of air in the oral cavity. So no restriction, no obstruction to the passage of air. You open your mouth and vowel sound will come out. For example, to say ah, to say oo, to say oh, you open your mouth without any obstruction to the passage of air, air will just come out. One thing that is essential here to notice is also that for you to produce any sound, there must be the release of air. Now, where is the air coming from? The air is coming from your lungs. The lungs are also called the air sac. Now, the lungs are connected to a particular pipe that joined the lungs to the Adam's apple. Now, that is the trachea. We call it the windpipe, the trachea, the windpipe. Now, it is through the windpipe that the air that is coming from the lungs will pass into the mouth. And when it gets to the mouth, for consonant sound, it will be restricted, it will be obstructed before it will later be released. So one thing is that for consonant sound to be produced, three things will happen. One, air, the articulators will meet. That's number one. Then number two, air will be obstructed. Then number three, air will be released. That is the process. Now, for the consonant sound, I told you they all have their individual names. Now, we have 24 consonant sounds in the English language, and all of them have their individual names. How do we name them? There are three parameters to name consonant sounds. There are three parameters to name consonant sounds. I've discussed that with many of you in class. three parameters, that is three yardsticks that are used to name consonant sound or to describe consonant sound. So when we ask you to describe consonant sound, we are asking you to name it. Every consonant sound has a name, like a person, like human. So for example, okay, let me tell you first the three yardstick, the three parameters for naming consonant sound or for describing consonant sound. Number one, we talk about the state of the glottis. Number two, we talk about place of articulation. Then number three, we talk about manner of articulation. So those are the three yardsticks, three parameters. One, state of the glottis. Two, place of articulation. Three, manner of articulation. Now, like I told you, for sound production, consonant sound production, two articulators must meet. Now, when they meet, they are going to produce a sound. The sound they are going to produce, the first thing that will happen is that in the Adam's apple, we have vocal cords. When the vocal cords are apart, they create space. That space is called the glottis. Now, the glottis is either open or closed. The glottis is either open or closed when you produce a consonant sound. So if it is open, the sound you are going to produce, we call this voiceless sound. Voiceless consonants. So when a consonant is voiceless, it means when you produce it, the glottis is open. That is the state of the glottis. And because it is open, the air will pass freely without any turbulence, without any vibration, without any noise. So that is voiceless. But when the glottis is closed, any consonant sound you produce will involve air passing through the vocal cords by force, because the glottis is closed, that space is closed. So any sound you are producing will now be called voiced consonant. Voiced consonant, because there will be turbulence, there will be vibration when that sound is coming out, because the air will force itself to come out of the Adam's apple. So now that is the second Okay. Can this one serve us for some? Okay. 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 The audio is back. Okay. Sorry, the audio is back. We are very sorry with the sound, but we have worked on it again. Sorry for the break in transmission. I can see all your comments. Please just bear with us. We are back now and it won't go off again. Hello. I believe you can hear me now. I know I will recap on what I have said. So we are back. Yes, we are back. Eh, you can hear me now. It is back. I just want to be sure. Okay, you can hear me now. Don't say just type yes that you can hear me. Okay, very good. Don't worry. I will quickly recap. I will quickly go over what I've said before. Okay, very good, very good. Just listen carefully. You are going to catch up with everything I've said. Don't worry. Now, can someone remind me where we stopped before the audio went off? Just remind me what I said last, so I will know where to start from. No, I cannot start from the beginning. No, just tell me where we stopped before the audio went off. Where? Just state of the glottis. That is far. Okay, don't worry. I will start from there. Now, sorry for that break in transmission. So I said for us to describe any consonant or for us to name any consonant, like I said, they all have their names, individual names. For example, the bar sound is called voiced bilabial plosive. Why is it voiced? It is because of the first parameter. Why is it bilabial? It is because of the second parameter. Why is it plosive? It is because of the third parameter. The first parameter is state of the glottis. The second parameter is the place of articulation. And the third parameter is the manner of articulation. Now, the three parameters are used to describe or to name any consonant sound. And from the state of glottis, it means what state is the glottis. Remember, glottis is that space that is inside the Adam's apple, that is the larynx. Inside the larynx. Now, that space is created by two walls. The two walls are called vocal cords. Now, and that space can open and close during sound production. So when you want to produce a consonant sound, that space may be opened. And when it is open, the consonant you are going to produce is voiceless consonant. That is a consonant that does not involve vibration or turbulence in the vocal cords when you produce them. It is open. What will happen when it is open? The air will pass through freely without any turbulence, without any restriction. It will pass through. But another state is that it can close. Now, if it is closed, it means the air will force itself out of the glottis, and that will create turbulence or vibration. That is to produce voiced consonant. So in that aspect, we have two types of consonant: voiced consonant and voiceless consonant. Now, when it is voiced, it means there is vibration, the glottis is closed. When it is voiceless, it means the glottis is open. So the glottis can assume two different states: open state, closed state, two different consonants there. voiceless consonant, voice consonant. That is for state of the glottis. The second one, place of articulation, it means where is the sound produced in the mouth. Where is it produced? That is, which articulators are meeting. Place of articulation is determined by the two articulators that are meeting. One passive articulator must meet one active articulator. So two articulators that are meeting will determine the place of articulation. For example, ba is by a bilabial sound because two articulators are meeting and they are upper lip and lower lip. For the da sound, which is in dog, two articulators are meeting and the place of articulation is alveolar. Alveolar is the place of articulation, and that means the tongue is touching the alveolar ridge. Then for ka, which we have in king, so the place of articulation is the velar. So it is velar sound because the back of the tongue is touching the velum. The back of the tongue is touching the velum. Don't forget, velum is also known as soft palate. Now, at the roof of your mouth, that last place to the back of the mouth is where we call velum. So when the tongue touches the velum, the sound you are producing is velar sound. So that is for place of articulation. I've mentioned different places of articulation. Number one, bilabia. Number two, labiodental, which means the lip is touching the teeth, upper teeth, the lower lip touching the upper teeth, labiodental. Then we have dental, which means the blade of the tongue is touching the upper teeth to produce some sound. Then we have alveolar, which means the tongue is touching the alveolar ridge to produce that sound. Then we have the post-alveolar or palato-alveolar, which means the tongue is touching a place between the alveolar ridge and the hard palate. Then we have palatal sound, which means the tongue is touching the hard palate immediately after the alveolar ridge. Then we have the velar sound, which means the back of the tongue is touching the velum to produce that sound. So example of bilabial sound, ba and pa. Then we have ma, which is a nasal sound. Pa, ba. The ba you have in big, pa you have in post. Then the ma you have in moon. Those are bilabial sounds. Bilabial sound. Now we also have labiodental sound, which means the lower lip is touching the upper teeth. Labiodental, we have fa, which is in fine. We have va, which we have in violence. Violence. Then va. So that is labiodental. Then we have dental sound, which we have in cloth. The th at the end of cloth is a dental sound. The one you have at the end of both is a dental sound. That is voiceless dental sound. When we have bathe, that is to have your bath, you bathe. So bathe has the voiced dental sound. We have voiced dental sound in father, father. So the th in the middle of father is a voiced dental sound. I will show you some of these sounds when we get to treating the past questions. We have part of the question that we ask you to write some phonetic symbols for some sounds. Okay, so that is for dental. Then we have alveolar. Alveolar is when the blade of the tongue is touching the alveolar ridge. For example, the da you have in dog, that is voiced alveolar plosive. Then we have the ta, which we have in tell, that is voiceless alveolar plosive. Then you have the sa that you have in sing, that is voiceless alveolar fricative. And you have the z that you have in zoo, that is voiced alveolar fricative. Now we have several sounds that are alveolar too, like la and ra and na. Na is nasal, it's a nasal sound, and that is voiced nasal, voiced alveolar nasal. Okay, then another place of articulation is the palato-alveolar, that is post-alveolar, that after the alveolar ridge, there is a particular point where your tongue will touch to produce some sound. For example, we have some affricate sounds in the English language that are produced in the post-alveolar place. For example, the ch sound, which you have in church. So it's a post-alveolar sound. Then the sound you have in shoe, shoe is the post-alveolar sound. It is not produced in the alveolar place. It is produced after the alveolar. That's why we call it post-alveolar or palato-alveolar, between hard palate and alveolar ridge. So that is palato-alveolar or post-alveolar. You have in shoe. The sound you have in pleasure is also a post-alveolar sound. Pleasure, pleasure, post-alveolar sound. Now, after post-alveolar, we have palatal sound. Fortunately, we have only one palatal sound in the English language, and that's the one you have in yam. The ya sound. You have it in uniform, in university, you have it in yam, you have it in young, and so on. So it's a palatal sound. It is produced in the hard palate, the front of the tongue. Don't forget, I said the center of the tongue is not used for any sound in the English language. The front of the tongue is touching the hard palate to produce palatal sound, which is ya. You have in university, you have in young, you have in union, you have in yam, you have in yellow. And I will show you the symbol we use to replace that sound. The small letter J sound. Small letter J is used to represent the sound. And don't forget, anytime you are writing sound in the English language, you differentiate between letter and sound by putting a slanting bracket to write your sound. That is, the sound is placed between two slanting brackets. Okay, so for example, the small letter J is put in between slanting bracket to represent the palatal sound. We call it voiced palatal. It's an approximant. I will tell you about approximant when we get to manner of articulation. So for the last place of articulation, that is the velar sound. Any velar sound is a sound that is produced with the back of the tongue pressed against the velum, the soft palate. So we call it velar sound. And we have only two of such sound in the English language. The ka, which is the voiceless, and the ga, which is the voiced. The ka is the one you have in king. The ga is the one you have in Google, the one you have in good. So those are the two velar sounds we have in the English language. So the ka is voiceless velar plosive, and the ga is voiced velar plosive. So those are the places of articulation we have in the English consonant production. Okay, now for manner of articulation, it means the manner through which the air is released from the mouth. You know, sometimes when you produce some consonant sounds, the air will be released suddenly, like something busted, like explosion. So any sound that is produced releasing the air suddenly is a plosive sound. Plosive. Just when you want to remember it, remember explosive, when something happens suddenly. So sudden release of air will produce a plosive sound. For example, the pa sound. Remember, you notice that the air comes out suddenly. That is why it is a plosive sound. Plosive. We have several plosive sounds like pa, like ba, like ka, like ga, like ta, like da. They are all plosive because the release of air is sudden. So remember, the pa is the voiceless bilabial plosive. Ba is voiced bilabial plosive. Ta is voiceless alveolar plosive, and da is voiced alveolar plosive. Then we go to ka. Ka is voiceless velar plosive, and ga is voiced velar plosive. Okay, so those are the plosive sounds we have in the English language. Now, we also have another manner of articulation which is called fricative. Fricative means the contact between the two articulates that are meeting is not so tight, and air will be passing freely. There is no total blockage of air. There is little release of air. That's why we call it fricative. Fricative. Now, for example, the fa sound is a fricative sound because the air is not totally blocked. So it's fricative. Then the v, which is voiced labiodental fricative, v. Then we have the sa, which is voiceless alveolar fricative. Voiceless alveolar fricative. So fricative will produce a sound that the release of air will be gradual, not sudden, gradual release of air. That is fricative. Then we have some sounds that combine the feature of plosive and fricative. We call them affricate. Now, in the English language, we have only two affricates, and that is cha and ja, like we have in George. Like you have in George. That is the sound you have in George, like ja, is a voiced post-alveolar affricate. It's an affricate. Then the one you have in church, then it is represented by the combination of the ta sound and the sha sound. So we call it cha. You have in church. That is voiceless post-alveolar affricate. So they are affricates. Now, affricate combines both feature of plosive and plosive and fricative. Now, another sound, another manner of articulation is called approximant. Approximant are sounds where the articulators come together, but they are loosely, they are loosely together. They are not tightly together. They are loosely together. And when you produce such sound, it will be like the air has been given total freedom. For example, the wa sound, that is the bilabia, the voiced bilabia approximant. Some scholars call that sound labia villa, because they think the velum is also involved in the production. But now I will want you to make it a bilabia sound, not labia villa sound, a bilabia sound, because the two lips are prominent in the production of the sound. Bilabia, but it is an approximant because the two lips are loosely together. They are not tightly together like you have in pa. So wa is an approximant sound. Just differentiating it from ma, which is also a bilabia sound, where the lips are tightly together, but they are loosely together in this case. That is why it's an approximant. So when you produce a sound and the articulators are loosely together, you are producing an approximant. Another approximant in the English language is the ya sound. Like I told you, we have in yam. That's a palatal sound. Is an approximant because the articulators are not tightly together. They are loosely together. They are not actually touching tightly. They are just touching, just a slight touching. So that is approximant. Another manner of articulation in the English language is the lateral. Lateral is when the sound is released through one side of the mouth. Now it is the la sound is an example of a lateral sound, and that's the only lateral sound we have in the English language. When you say Lagos, you notice that the sound la in Lagos is coming from one side of the mouth. That is a lateral sound. Then we have the retroflex as another manner of articulation. Retroflex is when the tongue takes a retro position in the mouth before you can produce that sound. The only sound that's a retroflex sound in the English language is the ra sound, the one you have in rush, the one you have in room. Now, the ra sound, it is a retroflex because the tongue will take a reverse position when you want to produce that tongue. So we call it retroflex, differentiated from other manners of articulation. Then the last manner of articulation I will discuss with you is the nasal. Any sound that redirects the release of air from the mouth to the nose is a nasal sound. You notice when you produce some sounds, you will not feel the air coming out. I give you that example in the class. When you place the back of your tongue very close to your mouth and produce the sound pa, you notice that the air coming out will hit the back of your tongue. I mean, it's the back of your hand. And in that case, that sound is orally released. That sound is orally released. But compared to when you produce na, you have the one you have in nun, the one you have in no. That na sound will make the sound to, the position of the na sound will make the air to be redirected to the nose, not releasing it the air from the mouth. So if you place the back of your tongue close to your mouth when you produce na, you are not going to feel any air coming out. But just place that same back of the hand very close to your nose. You see that the air will come from the nose. Then you have it. So you can try it now. When you say na, the air is coming from the nose. And the same thing with ma. So there are only 3 nasal sounds in the English language. They are alveolar nasal, bilabial nasal, and the velar nasal. The alveolar nasal is the na, the one you have in naira. Then the ma, the one you have in moon, that is bilabial nasal. Then the velar nasal, the one you have in king, song, and so on. So that is velar nasal. So you produce that sound. It's a nasal sound. The release of air is not from the mouth, from the nose, but the back of the tongue is touching the velum. So those are the manners of articulation. So it will be easy for you to name any consonant sound if you know the state of the glottis, if you know the place of articulation, and if you know the manner of articulation. So now I can continue to name most consonant sounds now because I understand the state of the glottis, the place of articulation, and the manner of articulation. Pa is a voiceless bilabial plosive. Ba is a voiced bilabial plosive. Ka is a voiceless velar plosive. Ga is a voiced velar plosive. Sa, like you have in sing, is a voiceless alveolar fricative. And za, the one you have in zoo, is voiced alveolar fricative. So don't forget state of the glottis, place of articulation, and manner of articulation. You will understand what is it? The parameters for describing consonant sounds. Don't forget, consonant sounds are sounds that are produced with obstruction to the passage of air in the oral cavity. Okay, so I have spent a lot of time describing the test of orals aspect of the course, and we have some other aspects too. So I would not have much time to explain some other ones too, but most of them will be discussed when we are discussing the past question. I believe you have your past questions with you. The one that your class rep sent to you is the one we are going to discuss here. So the engineer will put the question on the screen for you to see. So we now start discussing the past question. This past question is for the 2022-2023 session. All right, that it is still on the same course outline, which means that most of the questions here are going to be repeated one way or the other, but not the same structure. If you understand how to interpret questions very well, you will know and notice that most of the questions will be repeated, but in different structure. Okay, so it will be helpful if you pay attention to most of the questions we'll be discussing here as past questions. But I want you to note that, please clearly note that this is not the questions you are going to answer either tomorrow or on Tuesday. This is just a past question. It is just a past question. If you see, that's why I've let you see it as 2022-2023 past question. So I'll start from question number 1. The first section, like I told you, section 1 is 40 objective questions. Even though here we have 24 questions, but 24 questions, the 24 questions we have 40 different gaps if you count them. 40 different gaps, which means you are going to have 40 marks if you answer all the questions here. Now, question number 1. Do you have your question paper with you, the past question with you? Now it is already on the screen. It is already on the screen. So let's start. So question number 1. The act of interpreting the encoded message is known as, that is decoding. when you interpret, when they send message to you, remember the process of communication. The sender will send the message to the receiver. Now, when the sender is sending the message, we say he is encoding the message. That's why we call him encoder. Another name for sender is encoder. He encodes the message and send to you. For you to understand the message, you have to decode. That means you have to interpret. So the act of interpreting encoded message is known as decoding. Decoding. Then number 2, dash is used in communication to describe anything that may undermine its effectiveness. Anything that undermines communication, anything that hinders communication is called noise. So the answer to that question is noise. Noise is used in communication to describe anything that may undermine its effectiveness. So that question may be asked in another way. Anything that hinders communication, anything that distorts, or anything that causes distortion to flow of communication is noise. That's noise. Number 3, the violation of grammatical rules by a speaker while communicating is an example of dash noise. The violation of grammatical rule is a syntactic noise. When words are arranged wrongly, you have violated grammatical rule. That is syntactic noise. Syntactic noise. Some people call it grammatical noise. It is either grammatical noise or syntactic noise. Then number 4, dash communication cuts across departments, units, and sections in an organization. Okay, now I don't know in your own class if you have discussed types of communication. When we say types of communication, we have 4 major types of communication that I will tell you now. We have what we call intrapersonal communication. Intra, I-N-T-R-A, intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal communication is any communication that happens within oneself. When you are communicating with yourself, you say, James, you are talking to yourself. You say, James, are you sure you are okay? That is intrapersonal communication. If they say, whom are you talking to? And you say, I'm talking to myself. If you are talking to yourself, that is intrapersonal communication. Then we have interpersonal communication. I-N-T-E-R, interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is any communication process between two different people. Two different people. I said two. One person and another person. So if I send message to somebody and he replies me, we are engaging in interpersonal communication. If I talk to you and you talk back to me, is that it's an interpersonal communication. Then we have what we call group communication. Any communication between more than 2 people, when we have from 3 people to at least 20 people, we usually specify between 3 and 20 people. That is called group communication. So group communication is different from interpersonal. Interpersonal is between 2 people. I talk to you, you talk back to me. That is interpersonal. Then group communication starts from 3 people talking together. It has become a group. So that's group communication up to 20 people. Then we have mass communication. Now, mass communication is any communication where message is sent to a large number of people, anonymous people. Now, so when you send message through any mass media like newspaper, like radio, like television, that is mass communication. So you are talking to a lot of people. There is no limit to the number of people you are talking to in mass communication. Then we have organizational communication. Organizational communication is any communication that happens within an organization from either the superior to the subordinate or subordinate to the superior. So in that case, we have several types of communication which is not part of this course outline. So we have what we call vertical communication, horizontal communication, we have diagonal communication, and so on. So that one does not concern this course anyway. So, but in this question now, the communication that cuts across department, unit, and section in an organization, that is not interpersonal communication anymore. It involves more than 2 people. That is group communication. Okay, in that case, let's go to question number 5. Question number 5, dash describes the communication between a lecturer and the class governor. What type of communication is that? from my explanation. Communication between a lecturer and the class governor. That is interpersonal communication. Only two people are involved. Interpersonal communication. Okay, number 6, the best way to decode or read the mood of a speaker is through. Now, when somebody is speaking, when somebody is sending information, that person is known as the speaker. As I'm talking to you now, I am the speaker here. Now, how do you read my mood? So that question says, the best way to decode or read the mood of a speaker is through the facial expression. That is non-verbal cues. Through the non-verbal cues, you can read my mood through non-verbal cues. Don't forget, we have discussed in the class that we have two major media of communication. When we say medium of communication, we have two major media of communication, that is the verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So verbal communication uses either oral communication or written communication. Oral is when you use your sound. Written is when oral is when you use either, verbal is when you use oral or written. Oral is when you use your sound, and written is when you use letters and symbols to communicate. But non-verbal is when you use any other thing to communicate, maybe your body, facial expression, body movement, posture, color, time, and so on to communicate. And we have several types of communication that are non-verbal communication. For example, chronemics, kinesics, paralanguage, and so on. So that may not be more essential now, but for you to read the mood of a speaker, you have to notice the non-verbal cue, that is non-verbal expression, the facial expression, the body language, and some other things like that. That will help you to understand the mood of the speaker. Now, number 7, vocalics is another name for vowel sounds. Vocalics. Now, I told you there are two different sounds in the English language, consonant sounds and vowel sounds. Consonant sounds are sounds that are produced with obstruction, while vowel sounds are sounds that are produced without obstruction. Such sounds are also called vocalics. Another name for vowel sound is vocalics. Now, number 8, Rose is fluent in both French and German. Hence, she is dash. Now, if you are fluent in two different languages, then we say you are a bilingual. So bilingualism means ability to use two different languages fluently. So Rose is fluent in both French and German. Hence, she is bilingual. She is bilingual. Then number 9, dash interference inhibits the acquisition of L2 or target language. Take note of that question very well. If you don't understand interference, you may not be able to answer that question. Interference is superimposition of the rules or the codes of a language over another language. That is interference. Now, for example, when you are speaking Yoruba and when you are speaking English language, and because you are a native speaker of Yoruba language, some codes or rules of Yoruba language are now interfering with your communication while speaking English. That is called interference. Now, some people will find it difficult to pronounce some words because they are used to certain pronunciation in their mother tongue. For example, anybody that says something like education is being affected by interference. When you say su instead of shu, that is interference. That is impact of interference on communication. Interference is when one language is affecting the speaking of another language. That is interference, superimposition of rules of a language over any other language. So in this question now, dash interference inhibits the acquisition of L2 or target language. Let me explain this to you. Your L1 is the first language. L1 means first language. L2 means second language. Your L1 is that language that you pick up as a child when you are growing up in your environment. Any language that is spoken in your environment and you picked it up while growing, that is your L1. Your L1 sometimes may be the same thing with your mother tongue, but in some cases the L1 is not the mother tongue. Your mother tongue is the language spoken by your parents. That's your mother tongue. Language of your parents, your mother tongue. But L1, your L1 does not mean that, uh, I mean, mother tongue may not necessarily be your L1. For example, a child that is born in Ibadan, immediately after birth, was taken to United States of America. Now, if that child grows in America for 6 years, the L1 of that child will probably be American English, because that is the language that is spoken around him. That will become his L1. But his mother tongue still remains the Yoruba language. So your L1 is the language you picked up as a child to speak when you are growing. That's your L1. Now, your L2 is any language you learn through formal education or through any other means. Now, your first language is always acquired naturally. You acquire first language naturally. They will not teach you how to speak it. So your mother tongue is acquired naturally. Uh, they may not have to teach you if that is your L1. Your L1 is acquired naturally, but when you go to school to learn English language, then it has become your L2. Most of us, we have English as our L2. So in the process of learning English language, which is your L2, if you are being affected by your mother tongue, you find it difficult to pronounce some words, that kind of interference is called retroactive interference. That means we have two types of interference. That is proactive interference and retroactive interference. Proactive interference is that type of interference that helps in the learning of L2 when you are learning second language, which probably might be English or French. When you are learning second language, uh, if you have been affected by the first language, we call it retroactive interference. It is also called negative interference. Negative interference. Do you understand? So proactive means it will help you when you are learning the second language, but retroactive means it will affect you negatively when you are learning second language. So in this question now, dash interference inhibits the acquisition of L2 or target language. That is negative interference or retroactive interference. Number 10, question number 10. Mention any three levels of interference. Now, that thing we call interference happens in three different levels. Now, we have semantic level. That is at level of meaning. When you use your mother tongue or L1 meaning to interpret a particular word in the English language, so that is semantic interference. For example, I gave you an example in class. If you say to a white man that I want to drink orange, that white man is going to give you orange juice to drink, because in their own culture, if it is fruit, they don't drink it, they eat fruit. So the same thing when you say I want to eat a mango. So if it is orange, you have to say I want to eat orange. So not I want to drink orange. But because we are Yoruba, we are affected by our language. We say mo fẹ́ mu ọsàn. We translate that directly into English and we say I want to drink orange, which we cause semantic noise to a white man. So the type of interference they are referring to here is semantic interference. Now, the level of interference here is semantic level. Can you hear me now? Sorry, the audio went off again, but we are back. You can hear me? All right. Now, let me repeat that. Question number 9. Dash interference inhibits the... No, that is not it. Mention any 3 levels of interference. The 3 levels of interference is semantic level of interference, syntactic level of interference, and phonological level of interference. Any interference that affects you at the level of meaning is semantic interference. Anyone that affects you at the level of grammar, there's arrangement of words to form meaningful expression. That is syntactic interference. Some people call it grammatical interference. Then the last one, phonological interference, is at the level of pronunciation. When you find when an Hausa man was trying to describe road for me, and he said ply over, and I missed my road because I did not understand ply over, not knowing that it was saying fly over. So ply over is an example of phonological level of interference. When wrong pronunciation is applied to a particular word, it will cause phonological interference. Now, that's the same thing with phonological noise, in the types of noise. Okay, so the number 10. Okay, for number 10, we have 3 levels of interference: semantic interference, syntactic interference, and phonological interference. Then number 11, the concept of having 2 different languages in a single sentence within the major and minor boundaries is known as, that is code mixing. Okay, there are 2 concepts here: code mixing and code switching. Code switching is when you apply the rule of another language in the process of speaking one language at major boundary. There are 2 boundaries in your expression: beginning of the expression and the end of the final position of the expression. So when you have Yoruba expressions beginning a sentence and you end such sentence with English expression, that is code switching. You switch from Yoruba to English. I love that lecturer, but wọ́n máa ń bínú. I love that lecturer is English. That is a language. Then wọ́n máa ń bínú is Yoruba. That's another language. So you have used 2 languages together at major boundaries, beginning and the end. That is code switching. You switch from Yoruba to English, or you switch from English to Yoruba. But when you have such mixture at different boundaries, both major and minor boundaries, that is code mixing. Mi ò like bí o ṣe máa ń behave sometimes. That is code mixing. Wọ́n fẹ́ invite wa sí engagement wọn. That is code mixing. So when you use both languages at both major and minor boundary, that is code mixing. You should get the difference between the 2. So code mixing, major and minor boundary, then code switching at major boundaries, either beginning or the end. So I believe you understand that. Then number 12, question number 12. Please, let's check if they are asking question.
Somebody just asking what number.
We are now at number 12. Okay, we are at number 12 now. Dash is the smallest meaningful but indivisible unit of language. Dash is the smallest meaningful but indivisible unit of language. There are 2 concepts here that are similar, but they are different in one segment. Now, syllable and morpheme. Now, their description are almost the same, but the difference is that morpheme is the smallest indivisible but meaningful unit of a language. So it is a grammatical unit, morpheme, but it is the smallest grammatical unit. It is indivisible and it is always meaningful, either context meaning or grammatical meaning. Morpheme must be meaningful. So this question is, the answer is morpheme. Morpheme is the smallest meaningful but indivisible unit of language. It is different from syllable. whereas syllable is the smallest pronounceable unit of a word. That's the difference. Morpheme is smallest meaningful indivisible unit of grammar or language, but syllable is the smallest pronounceable unit of a word. So it does not really matter if it has meaning or not, but it must be pronounceable. For syllable, meaning is not required, but to be able to for us to be able to pronounce it is the most important requirement. So that is the difference. So you should know the difference between syllable and morpheme. Syllable is the smallest pronounceable unit of a word. Okay, now let's go to number 13. The scientific study of the sound pattern of a particular language is dash. That is phonology. When you study the sound pattern of a language, how sounds are used together to make to form words in a language, that is phonology. Scientific study of sound pattern, that's phonology. Question number 14. Okay, good. Look at the difference between phonology and phonetics now. Dash studies the vocal organs by which the sound of speech are produced. That is phonetics. Phonetics studies the vocal organs by which the sounds of speech are produced. That is the difference between phonology and phonetics. Number 13 is phonology, scientific study of the sound pattern. Then number 14 is phonetics. It studies the vocal organs by which sounds or speech are produced. That is number 14. Number 15 now, using voicing for description. Consonant sounds could be dash and dash. I've discussed this at the beginning of the class. I said for state of the glottis parameter, we have two types of consonants, voiced and voiceless. So that means we are using voicing to determine consonants. So 15, using voicing for description. Consonant sound could be voiced and voiceless. That is the answer. Using voicing, that is using state of the glottis as description, we have voiced and voiceless consonants. Number 16, the lungs, the pharynx, the uvula, the alveolar, they are example of organs of speech or articulators. If you write organs of speech, you are correct. If you write articulators, you are correct. All these things that we mentioned here, the lungs, the pharynx, the uvula, the alveolar ridge, they are all examples of articulators or organs of speech. Number 17, dash sounds are articulated by the back of the tongue against the soft palate, e.g., ka and ga. I have discussed this before. Those are velar sounds. Velar sounds are articulated by the back of the tongue pressed against the soft palate, or the velum. Number 18. State the 3 yardsticks used in classifying consonant sounds. Good. We have discussed that one too. The 3 parameters used to describe consonant sound. Number 1, please, when you are stating them, state them as a good communication student. Now, the first one is state of the glottis, the second one is place of articulation, and the last one is manner of articulation. State of the glottis, place of articulation, manner of articulation. Those are the 3 yardsticks, 3 parameters for classifying consonant sounds. Then number 19, identify the sounds represented by the underlined letters on the following words. Now, I will show you the description. That is this part of the question. We have to write the sound that represents the letters that are underlined. Now, and when you are writing sound, please put your sounds in slanting brackets. If you just write the sound, you have not written sound, you have written letter. Only when you put it in between the bracket, that is when you are writing sound. And I will give you examples now. So we have 10 different words here that they ask you to write phonetic symbols for to represent the letters. Sam, we need the board now. So I will show you on the board. Okay, there is a request that we should upload the video after this lecture series. We'll upload it, don't worry. Immediately after the lecture, we upload it for you to come back and use it for revision. Now, I will show you the words on the board now. So that I will show you how to write those symbols. Okay. Is it on the board now? Okay. Look at it. The first word there, if I ask you to pronounce that word, most of you will pronounce it wrongly because most of you will pronounce it as leopard. But it's not pronounced as leopard and it's not pronounced as leopard. But it is pronounced as leopard. Leopard. The O in that spelling is not pronounced. The O in the spelling is not pronounced. It is the E that is pronounced. So it is pronounced as leopard. Leopard. So the sound that is underlined, you notice that E and O are underlined and they are representing only one sound, and that is the E sound. You can see it on the board, E. The underlined part is the E sound, leopard. Then let's go to number 2. The next sound, the next word is anthem. Anthem. Notice the way I pronounce it, anthem. So the sound you have there is a dental sound. It is not an alveolar sound. Alveolar is ta, like you have in toad. But that is not what you have there. The one you have there is what you have in both. So anthem, that is voiceless dental fricative. Voiceless dental fricative. Tha. Anthem. Anthem. So that is the symbol there. You can see that I've placed everything in the slanting bracket. That is how to write sounds. Then the next one, Thomas. Thomas. It is not the dental sound that you are producing there. It is the alveolar sound, the ta, the voiceless alveolar plosive, ta. So it is not Thomas. It is Thomas, like you have in tell. Thomas. Thomas. Then the next one, that's key. That word is pronounced as key, and the letter that is underlined is represented by ka. It's ka. So then the next one, measure. So the S there is underlined. That word is written as S, but it is pronounced as ja, like you have in pleasure. So it is measure, and this is the sound that is used to represent it. Then the next one, if I ask you to pronounce that word too, many of you will get it wrong. It is not pronounced as woman. It is not woman. It is not woman or whatever. But the word is pronounced as we-men. We-men. Now even here, it is not men. It is men. So the sound you have here is the vowel E, the short E. And the same thing you have to represent the E you have here. So both this place and this place, it is this vowel that is there. We-men. We-men. So we have the E vowel sound there. Then the next one is burn. The sound is pronounced, the word is pronounced as burn. And it is the long that we have there. The one you have in bird. So it is the one you have in burn too. So it is this long that you have here. It is not underlined. This burn. Then the next one, cart. C-A-R-T, and A-R is underlined. The A-R there is standing for only one vowel sound, and that is the long vowel R, cart. So remember, any vowel sound you see 2 dots after it is a long vowel. So it is a long vowel you have in cart. Cart. Okay, so the next one, pronounce that word. It is pronounced as doctor. 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 The last sound you have here, represented by, OR, is a sure sound. We call this sound sure sound in the English language, sure sound. And it is always found in a syllable that is not stressed, unstressed syllables. Doctor, doctor. So some people pronounce as doctor. So the sound you have here is the sure sound, not O sound. It's not doctor. So what? The sure sound. Then the last one, law. Law. That is very easy. You already know. It's a long O that is represented by AW there. So long O. So remember, always put your sounds in slanting brackets. And let's go quickly to the next question. Question number 20. Please check, is there any, all right, is there any question? Now, somebody is requesting number 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I am not going back to that. You can replay them. It will be uploaded again. Now, it's later after this live discussion, we are going to make it an uploaded video. You will see it. So you can go back. I have discussed those numbers we are referring to. Okay, so number 20, dash stress is produced with maximum breath force. What is stress? Stress is um okay, without your knowledge of syllable, you will not understand stress. Like I told you, syllable is the smallest pronounceable unit of a word. Any word you write now will have a number of syllables. Some words we have only one syllable. We call them monosyllabic words. For example, go, sing, sit. They have only one syllable. But there are some words that have more than one syllable. Then, for example, teacher. Teacher has two syllables. Um, First syllable, second syllable. Now, for you to understand stress, you must understand syllable. In a word, when you have two or more syllables, one of the syllables will be pronounced louder than the other syllables. That is, we give prominence to a particular syllable over other syllables, the remaining syllables in that word. So stress is therefore described as the prominence placed on a particular syllable, whereas that syllable is pronounced louder in pitch than the other syllables in that same word. For example, in teacher, there are two syllables, but one syllable is pronounced louder than the other. If you notice, T is louder than ch. So the stress syllable is the one that is the first syllable. That is T. So that is the stress label. Now, the question says that stress is produced with maximum breath force. Now, when you place prominence on a particular syllable and that syllable is pronounced higher in pitch than the other syllable, we call it primary stress. Primary stress. Other syllables are going to be either secondary stress. Okay, so primary stress is the syllable, the stress you place on the syllable that is pronounced louder than the other syllables. That is primary stress. So the answer to that question is primary stress. Primary stress is produced with maximum breath force. Okay, number 21. Dash intonation kicks off from a low pitch and moves to a high pitch. Now that will make me tell you also that another suprasegmental element we discussed in sound system is intonation, syllable, stress, and intonation. Intonation is the upward and downward movement of pitch when you are speaking. It's the upward and downward movement of speech. So when the pitch of the voice goes up, we say it is rising intonation. And when it falls, we say it is falling intonation. For example, if I say, are you going? Are you going? That one indicates rising intonation because I raise my voice when I end the sentence, as in, are you going? And that is to say that yes or no questions I always ask with rising tone. It is wrong to ask a yes or no question with falling tone. You cannot say, are you going? It is wrong. You say, are you going? Is that your father? Is that your father? It's not, is that your father? That is, if you say it's that your father, it is falling tone, and falling tone is not used in yes or no question. So when you raise your voice at the end of a sentence, you say that is rising tone. But when you lower it, when it comes down, that is falling intonation. That means we have two types of intonation: rising intonation and falling intonation. Although we have some minor ones too: rise, fall, rise, and so on. So, but in this case now, in this question, dash intonation kicks off from a low pitch and move to a high pitch. That is rising intonation, from low pitch to high pitch. But the other one, which is falling intonation, is from high pitch to low pitch. He gave me rice, beans, watermelon, and banana. You see, it comes down. When I say banana, it has come from high to low. That is falling tone. Okay, look at it. Number 22. A letter to one's acquaintance is best described as dash, while dash letter is written to send a condolence message. Okay, now for letter writing, there are two major types of letters. I have told you we don't have three types of letters, we only have two. If a letter is not formal, then it is informal. We have formal letter and informal letter. Formal letter is a letter you write to someone that you are not familiar with. For official reason, you write a letter for official reason, not for personal reason. It's a formal letter. But informal letter is letter you write to people you are familiar with, people you know very well. Now, in this case, now a letter to one's acquaintance is best described as informal letter, while a letter while dash letter, that is why a formal letter is written to send a condolence message. So a letter you write to send condolence message is a formal letter. Number 23, write today's dates both in ordinal and numeral form. I won't be able to write that on the board, but there are two ways to write your date in letter. Now, but for formal letter, I always advise you to write your letter in ordinal format. Ordinal format is when you say 22nd May 2026 or May 22nd 2026. Now, when you use numeral, that is 2205 2026, that is numeral. Okay, so number 24, using words above the level of one's listener produces dash noise. That is type of noise. So there are four major types of noise. We have physical noise, physiological noise, psychological noise, and linguistic noise. Now, physical noise is noise, any noise in the environment of communication. Now, the sound of a radio, children playing football, noise from anywhere. Even physical noise could mean noise generated by even the speaker himself when he is putting on bad clothes and people are distracted. That is physical noise. Physiological noise is noise, any noise that is caused by damage to any part of your body that is used for communication. For example, if you have impaired ears, or you have impaired eyes. If you have problem with your eyes or with your ear, it will cause physiological noise. Then psychological noise is any noise generated by unstable state of the mind. So if your mind is carried away from the environment of communication, that is psychological noise. Then linguistic noise is any noise at level of meaning. Any noise at level of meaning. So excuse me. So any noise at level of meaning is any noise at level of language use rather is linguistic noise. Okay, so we have three types of linguistic noise, and we have semantic noise, syntactic noise, and phonological noise. Okay, now for that question, using words above the level of one's listener produces linguistic noise, and sometimes that is semantic noise. That person will not be able to interpret your message because that word is too big for him to understand. That we call linguistic noise, and the type of linguistic noise is semantic. Okay, so that is section A. That will give you 40 marks. Then the other sections are 30 marks. So the second section, you are going to write a letter. So prepare. You are going to write a letter, but the letter you are going to write is an informal letter. We are going to ask you to write a letter either to your brother, either to your uncle, either to your... So, but what I want you to know is that any letter writing, if for exam purpose, is a creative writing. You have to create it. You have to create whatever any question we are going to give you for letter writing is not something that's going to be real. It's going to be something that is abstract. It's going to be something that is not happening, but we want you to create it. So because it's not happening, that does not mean you should not write the letter. For example, write a letter to your uncle in the UK telling me about some problems you have in the family, and uh, telling him what you want him to do about it. Now, we asked you to write a letter to your uncle in the UK. You don't have any uncle in the UK. The only uncle you have is in Shaki. And because of that, you say, I cannot write this letter. No, you have to create an uncle for yourself and put him in the UK. Then, if you don't have problem in your family, and we ask you to discuss problems in your family with your uncle, you have to create problems. Create problems for your family in the exam hall. Then tell your uncle the problems. After all, you are not going to leave the exam hall with the problems. So it is a creative writing when you are writing letter for exam purpose. Something that is not happening, then we ask you to write it like it is happening. So that is creative writing. You have to write it. It's a letter, and it's going to be an informal letter. So informal letter will have one address, and that is your own address. Write it at the topmost right hand corner of your writing material. Then the next thing is the salutation. That is dear uncle James, my uncle, or whatever. You can use anything to begin your letter as salutation. Then you go to the body of the letter, discuss the problem, then discuss the solution you want him to prefer. Then you close your letter, yours sincerely, or your younger brother, or your whatever. So that we don't use yours faithfully in informal letter. The type of letter you are going to write, no, yours faithfully. It is yours sincerely, or any other form of closing to your letter. And the last aspect of your question is comprehension passage. That is easier. So you are going to read a passage, and you are going to answer questions that follow the passage. That is the second part. So which means the major part of your exam is the section A that will give you 40 marks. So go over this video again. Most of the things we discuss here are things you are going to meet in the objective part. So if you can take your time to go through the video again, so you will see that it is very easy for you to answer most of the questions in section A. Now, please, I will answer only 2 questions. But if you are still with me, please type yes. I need you to do something now. Everybody, I need you to do something now. If you are still with me, type yes, please. Okay, that's very good. Now, I need you to do something. We will be posting some videos, academic videos too, that will help you in various exams on this platform. So, but for you to get them immediately we upload them, I want you to hit the subscribe button now. Please subscribe to this channel now. As you are typing yes, just go to the subscribe section, just hit it and subscribe to this channel. Do that now. Do that now. Thank you. I've seen you. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you very much. Do that right now while I answer some questions here. So if you don't do that, when we post next videos, you'll not be able to see it. Now, another thing is that immediately after this online discussion, we are going to repost the video for those people that were not able to make it to the online class, the live online class. So we repost the video. So anytime we repost, you'll be able to get it immediately. You will get notification. So, and apart from that, even when you get to ND2, we'll be posting some videos to discuss GNS 201 and GNS 202. So if you subscribe now, you will have access to most of those videos, which will be very helpful at that level. Okay, thank you for people that have subscribed. All right, thank you. Done already. Thank you. So I've seen many of you that you have already subscribed. Thank you very much. So when we post videos, you'll be able to get notification immediately. Okay, I will answer just one or 2 questions. Yes, you ask a question. Ask the question now. Ask the question. That is yeah. Ask your question. Let me see the question. Please and please help me to take note of the question. If there's any question there. And somebody said I have a question. Linguistic is scientific study of um, organs of speech that are used to produce various sounds in the English language or any other language. So that's linguistics. That is different from phonology. Phonology studies sound pattern. Both of them are scientific studies of sound, but one studies sound pattern in any language, that is phonology. But linguistics studies the various organs of speech, how the process of producing the sound. That is what linguistics studies. Okay. So now I believe you understand most of the things we have discussed. Now, more importantly, your section A will give you good marks. Now 40 marks. So you have to study very well. So go through the video again. And please, when we repost video, your seniors in HND1, HND2, they have done that. So I want you to do it too. So we are going to repost the video. Please come and place your comment. Let us see your comment. Even you can see ask question in the reposted videos. Ask questions, then pass your comment. If you have to appreciate this platform, appreciate. Send your appreciation. Tell us if it is helpful. Tell us if it is useful. Tell us your feelings about the class, the discussion, the lectures. Now tell us your feelings about them. Place your comments in the comment section so that we can get back to you and so that we can improve on whatever we are doing here. So we love your comments after now. Your comments here in the live chats will not be retained. Only your comments in the reposted videos will be permanent. So you can go there after the online class, go and pass your comments in the reposted video. Thank you very much. If you have enjoyed this class, please let me see your feedbacks. If you have enjoyed the class, if it has been helpful, please show your appreciation. Let's see how many bosa you are going to give us. Thank you. Above all, I wish you good success in your exams. Best of luck to every one of you. Remember, I always love you. Thank you. Goodbye.